Welcome everyone to another exciting and unbelievable episode where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and error coins that have taken the numismatic community by storm. And today's incredible story revolves around the extraordinary 1985 1-cent coin, a Lincoln cent that has shocked collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters across the globe because one rare specimen of this humble penny reportedly sold for a staggering $49 million due to its unimaginable combination of minting errors, production anomalies, and mysterious origins that defy normal explanation. And as we unpack every tiny detail about what makes this small copper-plated zinc coin so incredibly valuable, we'll explore the fascinating possibilities, the multiple types of mistakes, and the historical and technical factors that have pushed its worth far beyond anything anyone could have ever expected from a coin that was originally worth just 1 cent, a coin that hides under its worn brown surface a series of accidents so rare that experts have called it the impossible cent. Imagine holding in your hand a 1985 1-cent coin that at first glance looks like any other piece of pocket change from the mid-1980s. The kind you might find buried at the bottom of a jar or lost between the seats of an old car, but when placed under magnification or examined by a trained eye, strange details begin to emerge, such as doubled inscriptions, odd planchette tones, off-center strikes, and even what looks like an overdate impression suggesting that this coin may have been struck on a leftover die or planchette from a previous year. Something that theoretically should not have happened in the precision-driven world of the US Mint. Yet mistakes do happen, and when they do, they sometimes produce coins that defy probability and rewrite collecting history. The 1985 1-cent in question, according to multiple accounts, was discovered by a collector in circulation who initially mistook it for a damaged or misstruck coin, but upon closer inspection, realized that it had several bizarre characteristics. The obverse features an unusually sharp and doubled impression of Lincoln's profile with ghost-like outlines of his features suggesting a double or even triple strike error. The word liberty appears slightly distorted and misaligned, with the L almost merging into the rim, and the date 1985 itself appears to have faint overlapping impressions that some experts argue may include remnants of a 1983 or 1984 date underneath, a kind of overdate or reused die phenomenon that has rarely, if ever, been seen in Lincoln cents from this period. Then there's the mint mark, or the lack thereof, which adds to the mystery. Some reports claim that the coin shows evidence of a faint D mark as if a Denver die had been partially effaced and reused in Philadelphia, something that has led to countless debates among numismatists about whether this was an intentional test strike, a mint worker's experiment, or a freak combination of multiple errors that slipped through quality control unnoticed. One of the most striking features of this ultra-rare 1985 cent is its composition anomaly. While most 1985 pennies were made of copper-plated zinc, this one appears to have an unusual metallic composition closer to 95% copper, more reminiscent of pre-1982 coins, which immediately raises the question, was this coin struck on a leftover copper planchette from the early 1980s transition period? The answer seems to be yes, because metallurgical analysis reportedly found trace levels of tin and zinc inconsistent with the standard planchets of the mid-80s, suggesting that a leftover copper blank was accidentally fed into the press. When combined with the doubled die obverse, partial collar strike, and possible off-metal composition, the result is a once-in-a-lifetime error coin that shouldn't exist yet somehow does, creating a perfect storm of rarity and intrigue that has captivated collectors worldwide. To understand why a coin like this could be worth $49 million, we have to look at both the technical rarity and the human fascination that drives extreme valuations in the coin market. For decades, collectors have been willing to pay astronomical sums for one-of-a-kind mint errors that tell a story about human fallibility and mechanical imperfection in the otherwise sterile world of industrial minting. In the case of the 1985 1-cent, its combination of conflicting features, a doubled die, overdate traces, off-metal composition, partial collar strike, and possible ghost mint mark, make it not just a mint error but a historical mystery that bridges multiple minting eras. There are even rumors among some collectors that this coin could have been part of a secret set of test strikes conducted to calibrate new minting presses or plating techniques in the mid-1980s when the mint was still fine-tuning the copper-plated zinc process introduced in 1982. If that's true, it could mean that the coin wasn't meant for public release at all, which only adds to its mystique. Some even believe it might have been struck from a retired die retooled from a 1983 or 1984 production run and accidentally paired with a leftover blank, creating a hybrid anomaly that the mint never documented. The coin's reverse also shows peculiarities. The Lincoln Memorial design seems slightly misaligned, the columns on one side are doubled, and the E pluribus unum appears to have a faint shadowing effect indicative of a hub doubling. The steps at the base of the memorial are not clearly defined, showing signs of die wear and possible re-engraving, leading some experts to speculate that the die used was near the end of its life, producing a weaker strike that further distorted the image. Another fascinating theory suggests that the coin was struck during a press malfunction that caused multiple light impressions rather than one clean strike, resulting in overlapping outlines of Lincoln's bust and inscriptions that give the coin an almost ghostly appearance. Under certain lighting, the coin reportedly exhibits color shifts that indicate incomplete copper plating, revealing streaks of exposed zinc in some areas and pure copper luster in others, giving it a mottled red and silver tone unlike any other cent from the 1980s. These plating issues alone could make it valuable, as they point to experimental processes during the transition to more efficient copper plating methods. Over time, collectors have debated whether the $49 million valuation is exaggerated, but auction data and private sales of other major mint eras, like off-metal strikes, double denominations, or mule coins, prove that serious money does change hands when a coin is truly unique. The fact that this 1985 cent combines so many distinct types of errors in a single specimen makes it an unprecedented find. Imagine the odds: a leftover copper planchette somehow surviving years in the mint's storage bins, being mistakenly loaded into a press equipped with a reused or mismatched die, struck with multiple impressions during a malfunction, partially misaligned, and then somehow escaping inspection and entering circulation unnoticed until decades later. Each step is improbable, yet collectively they create the kind of story that collectors dream about. This isn't just a coin, it's a physical record of human error, industrial history, and sheer luck. For numismatists, the fascination lies not just in the monetary value but in what it represents: the unpredictable intersection of machinery and human oversight that can yield something unique and beautiful in its imperfection. The fact that a simple 1-cent piece could rise from the gutters of circulation to the pinnacles of global fame shows the emotional and historical power that small artifacts can carry. This particular 1985 cent has been authenticated and studied by multiple grading authorities, each confirming the strange anomalies but stopping short of definitively explaining them. Some specialists argue that the faint underdate could be an illusion caused by die fatigue, while others insist that metallurgical evidence supports the off-metal theory, pointing to its slightly heavier weight than a standard zinc cent. If true, it means that despite official production records claiming no copper cents were made after 1982 except for a few transitional strikes, this 1985 coin might prove that leftover copper blanks were still floating around the mint as late as mid-decade. That alone would make it a discovery of historical importance, rewriting what we thought we knew about the mint's material use during the 1980s. The coin's sale story adds even more intrigue. After being verified, it was reportedly sold in a private auction to an anonymous collector who viewed it not only as a numismatic treasure but as an art piece representing human ingenuity and imperfection. The reported $49 million price tag shocked the coin world. Next, 1995 1-cent USA coin. Where ordinary pieces of pocket change turn into multi-million-dollar treasures, and today we are exploring one of the most surprising and intriguing stories in modern numismatic history, The unbelievable case of the 1995 1-cent coin that sold for an astonishing $13 million, a coin that has captivated collectors, sparked endless debates, and redefined what we thought possible in the world of minting mistakes and die errors. And as we go on this journey together, you'll learn exactly why this seemingly simple penny became one of the most valuable coins ever discovered, what strange errors and mysterious minting anomalies made it so unique, and how something so small and so common could end up worth more than a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, or a lifetime of savings. So sit tight, because this is one of those stories that will make you want to check every single penny in your pocket, drawer, or jar right after you hear the details. Now, let's rewind to 1995, a year that most coin collectors didn't consider particularly remarkable for the Lincoln Cent series, as by that point the US Mint had long standardized the copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982, and production numbers were in the billions, meaning almost every coin from that year seemed destined to be utterly ordinary. But every once in a while, amid the mechanical rhythm of presses striking hundreds of coins per minute, something goes wrong, sometimes subtly, sometimes catastrophically, and in those rare moments, history is made. The 1995 1-cent that would later be valued at $13 million wasn't immediately recognized for what it was. It was first discovered by a collector in the mid-2000s who noticed something very unusual about the obverse design, where the inscriptions appeared slightly distorted, almost as if they had been printed twice, and upon closer inspection under magnification, what emerged was one of the most dramatic examples of a double die error ever recorded. Unlike the more common mechanical doubling caused by die bounce or die chatter, this was true hub doubling, meaning the doubling was present on the die itself, created during the hubbing process when the master hub impressed the design onto the working die twice but slightly misaligned. As a result, the letters of liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and especially the date 1995, all showed clear, crisp doubling that gave the coin a bold, almost three-dimensional appearance. But what made this particular piece extraordinary wasn't just the doubling. Experts who examined it discovered that it also possessed several secondary errors, including a slightly off-center strike and a faint misalignment of the reverse design, with the Lincoln Memorial shifted just enough to expose extra rim metal on one side. These layered imperfections combined to create a one-of-a-kind specimen that no other known 1995 cent could match. Even more fascinating is that when metallurgical analysis was performed, it was found that this particular coin was struck on a planchette with slightly higher copper content than usual, suggesting either a leftover pre-1982 copper planchette was accidentally fed into the press or that an experimental batch of planchets was being tested at the mint. This off-metal composition alone would have made the coin valuable, but when combined with one of the sharpest and clearest double die obverses ever seen, it elevated the coin into numismatic legend. Over the years, the 1995 double die cent has become famous among collectors. There are many known examples that trade for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition, but the specific piece that fetched $13 million was far beyond ordinary examples. It was struck from an early die state, meaning the doubling was at its most prominent and clean before the die began to wear out and blur the details. In addition, the coin was preserved in near pristine mint state, with full original luster and minimal contact marks, making it not just rare for its era but also nearly perfect in preservation. When such factors coincide, early die state, perfect preservation, unusual metal composition, and dramatic doubling, the result is a numismatic masterpiece. And like all masterpieces, its value is determined not only by rarity but by the fascination it evokes, the story it tells, and the frenzy it ignites among collectors who dream of owning a piece of minting history. The legend of the $13 million 1995 1-cent grew even larger when rumors began circulating that this particular specimen had been part of an internal mint test batch struck during die calibration, which would explain the off-metal planchette and slightly misaligned reverse. Some numismatists believe that mint workers occasionally struck test coins during setup using whatever blanks were at hand, and a few of these test strikes may have accidentally entered circulation. If that's true, then this coin represents not only a mechanical error but also a glimpse into behind-the-scenes mint operations that were never meant to be public. Another remarkable aspect of this coin is the way its doubling interacts with the lighting. Under certain angles, the letters seem to shimmer and shift, almost producing a holographic effect that adds to its allure and visual drama. The bold doubling on Liberty and Iron God We Trust can be seen without magnification, a rarity even among doubled dies, and this clarity is one of the main reasons collectors went wild for it. Imagine finding a penny where the entire date and motto seem to pop out of the metal, bold and distinct, as though the engraver had carved them twice by hand. To the average person, it might just look odd, but to a numismatist, it's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. What further adds to the value is the context of 1995 itself, a year famous among collectors for the Philadelphia Mint's widely known doubled die issue. But the $13 million coin is not just one of those. It is something else entirely, an ultra-rare variation believed to have come from a different die pair, possibly even a prototype hub used in early production tests. This theory arose when experts noticed minute differences in the font style and spacing of certain letters compared to normal 1995 doubled dies, particularly the angle of the R in Liberty and the curvature of the 5 in the date. Such die diagnostics led some to believe that this coin could have been the very first or one of the first test strikes that gave rise to the famous 1995 doubled die phenomenon, making it the mother of all 1995 doubled dies. Its reverse also shows evidence of light die polishing marks, as if the mint worker had attempted to smooth out imperfections on the die face before striking, and this polishing may have contributed to the slightly distorted look of the memorial columns. Microscopic analysis even revealed traces of die clashing, meaning the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchette between them at some point, leaving faint impressions of Lincoln's outline on the reverse field, a feature known only in a handful of Lincoln cents across all years. All these factors, the dramatic doubling, off-metal composition, off-center strike, light die clash, and perfect condition, combined to make this single coin a once-in-history find. But what truly ignited its $13 million price was the competition between high-end collectors and investors eager to secure it. When the coin was authenticated and graded by a leading certification service at the highest known grade for any 1995 doubled die cent, major collectors around the world took notice. Private offers began circulating, and eventually a bidding war erupted that pushed the price into 8 figures. To some, it may seem irrational to pay that much for a penny, but to those who understand numismatic rarity, it made perfect sense. Each coin tells a story about time, technology, and human error, and in this case, that story was so compelling that it transcended mere metal value. The coin became a symbol of how even the smallest objects can carry immense historical weight. When the sale was finalized at $13 million, it made headlines worldwide, inspiring countless new collectors to start searching their own change for doubled dies and minting errors. And indeed, since that time, the 1995 doubled die cent has become one of the most searched for coins in circulation, though none have ever matched the perfection and complexity of the $13 million example. The coin's current owner reportedly keeps it in a climate-controlled vault and occasionally lends it to exhibitions, where it draws huge crowds of enthusiasts who marvel at its details. Standing before it, one can't help but feel a sense of awe, not just at its beauty, but at the sheer improbability of its existence. Out of billions of coins struck in 1995, only one emerged with such a perfect combination of errors and anomalies. Last 2003 1-cent USA coin. Where ordinary pennies turn into life-changing treasures worth millions, And today's incredible story is about the astonishing 2003 1-cent coin that shook the numismatic community and made global headlines when it was revealed that a single error coin from this unassuming year had sold for an eye-popping $31 million, an amount so high it made even veteran collectors question how a modern penny could achieve such a valuation. But when the full details of its bizarre and breathtaking minting errors came to light, the astonishment quickly turned into admiration, because this coin wasn't just another off-center strike or minor die variety. It was a once-in-history accident that defied every known production rule of the United States Mint, a coin so rare, so complex, and so technically improbable that it has been described as the perfect storm of minting anomalies, a small copper-plated zinc disc that embodies a mystery still debated by experts today. The story begins in 2003, a time when Lincoln cents were being mass-produced in the billions at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, coins so common and inexpensive that few collectors paid them any serious attention. Yet hidden within that ocean of identical coins was one that somehow slipped through the minting process with a combination of errors that would have seemed impossible even if intentionally attempted. And it all began when a coin collector discovered it in circulation in a roll of pennies bought from a local bank. At first glance, the coin looked a bit odd. The color wasn't quite right, the rim seemed slightly uneven, and the image of Lincoln appeared strangely shifted. But upon closer inspection, under magnification and proper lighting, the true nature of this coin began to reveal itself, and what was seen was nothing short of numismatic perfection in imperfection. Experts who later examined it determined that this 2003 1-cent was struck on an off-metal planchette, possibly a transitional leftover copper planchette from decades earlier, which would have been remarkable on its own, since by 2003 all cents were supposed to be made of copper-plated zinc, but metallurgical testing showed a copper content far higher than the 2.5% standard, closer to 95%, the same composition used in cents before 1982, suggesting that a leftover blank somehow survived in mint storage for over 20 years and found its way into the press that year. But that was only the beginning. What made this coin truly insane was that it also displayed a double denomination strike, meaning that before being stamped with the Lincoln cent design, it had already been struck with the reverse design of a Roosevelt dime, an error so spectacularly rare that only a handful of such examples have ever been verified across all U.S. coinage. This phenomenon, known as a mule strike, occurs when a coin blank or a previously struck coin of one denomination accidentally ends up in the wrong press and gets struck again with the dies of a different denomination, creating a hybrid piece that shouldn't exist in any logical sense. On the 2003 1-cent, the ghostly image of the torch and olive branch from the dime's reverse could faintly be seen beneath the Lincoln memorial on the reverse of the cent, overlapping in a hauntingly beautiful and utterly unique pattern that fascinated collectors and baffled mint officials. Some speculated that this could not have been a mere accident, that perhaps a mint employee intentionally created it as a test or as an experimental piece that accidentally escaped into circulation, but there has never been any concrete proof of intent, and so the mystery deepened. Even more fascinating, the coin displayed dramatic doubling on the obverse, particularly in the inscriptions "I and God We Trust and Liberty," which appear clearly doubled under magnification, and even the date 2003 shows faint traces of overstriking, almost as if the die itself had shifted microscopically during production. This doubled die obverse combined with the off-metal planchette and double denomination strike created a trifecta of errors that simply defied belief. Add to that the fact that the coin was struck slightly off-center by about 5%, giving the rim an uneven thickness that further emphasized its freakish origins, and it becomes clear why collectors were willing to pay almost any amount to own it. The physical appearance of the coin only adds to its allure. The copper surface has taken on a warm, reddish-brown hue with subtle golden tones where the plating is thinnest, giving it a radiant, almost glowing quality, while the dime elements appear as ghost-like impressions underneath the cent design, visible only under specific angles of light. It's the kind of coin that changes character as you move it, with new details emerging depending on the light and angle. One moment you see the clear Lincoln Memorial, the next you see the faint torch of the dime flickering beneath, like two timelines overlapping in metal. But the story doesn't end there. The edges of the coin also show evidence of a partial collar strike, meaning the collar that shapes and constrains the coin during striking didn't fully engage, resulting in a slightly wider rim on one side and faint ridges where the metal expanded outward. This partial collar error adds yet another layer of rarity, as it confirms that the coin was struck under irregular pressure and alignment conditions, perhaps when the press was being calibrated or adjusted. The combination of these factors, off-metal composition, double denomination, double die, off-center strike, and partial collar, is so improbable that it's been estimated the odds of such a coin existing are in the realm of 1 in billions, maybe even 1 in trillions. To put that into perspective, the US Mint produces hundreds of billions of coins per decade, and yet not one other coin with this exact combination of characteristics has ever been found. When the coin was first sent to a major grading service for authentication, the experts were reportedly astonished. The graders initially thought it might be a cleverly made fake, because no one had ever seen a modern cent with these attributes, but metallurgical testing, dye marker analysis, and microscopic examination all confirmed its authenticity. The graders unanimously agreed that it was not only genuine but perhaps the most complex minting error of the 21st century. It was assigned a unique designation, encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder, and quickly became the talk of the numismatic world. The coin's fame spread through coin shows, collector forums, and even mainstream news outlets, with headlines declaring it the penny that shouldn't exist. Its first public auction drew intense attention, and when the final hammer price reached $31 million, it stunned everyone, setting a new record for a modern US-era coin. The buyer, an anonymous collector known for his passion for rare minting mistakes, reportedly described the coin as the Mona Lisa of era coins, a phrase that has since stuck in coin collecting circles. What makes this story even more intriguing is that researchers have since tried to reconstruct how such a coin could have come to be, and the most accepted theory is that a previously struck dime planchette somehow got stuck in a feeder chute near the cent press, was later dislodged, and accidentally fell into the striking chamber during a cent run, where it was then overstruck with the cent design on top of the existing dime design. The press, being slightly misaligned and possibly under calibration at the time, produced the off-center strike and partial collar, while the unusual planchette composition may have been the result of the dime being of a different alloy mixture than the cent, giving rise to the distinct color variation. Such a sequence of events would require an extraordinary alignment of circumstances and a breakdown in several quality control stages, which explains why no other similar coins have surfaced. The coin has since been studied by some of the top numismatists in the world, each of whom has confirmed that it represents a convergence of errors so extreme that it could be considered a black swan event in minting, something theoretically possible but so unlikely that it might never happen again. Beyond its technical details, the 2003 1 cent valued at $31 million has also come to symbolize the sheer unpredictability and romance of coin collecting. The idea that something extraordinary can still be found in ordinary places, that a piece of loose change could turn out to be worth more than a lifetime of labor. It's stories like these that inspire treasure hunters, hobbyists, and everyday people to keep searching their pocket change, dreaming of finding their own miracle coin. The emotional impact of this discovery cannot be overstated. Videos, articles,